What's up, people? I don't know why I started doing this. It's my thing now. I have a gimbal. Hopefully it'll be less nausea inducing. Here's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna do episode 4. Oops, sorry. I'm not used to this. Of Try Chapter Unhaul. Normally I have like a pre-selected list of, my arm hurts. I have a pre-selected list of books that I want to try and then whatever, but I'm going to take you with me now to go and pick them out because I got busy today, A, and B, I just thought it would be fun to change things up a little. So that's what we're going to do right now. For those of you who are new, basically the idea behind this series is to take books that I'm either like that I haven't looked at in a really long time or that I'm not sure about or whatever, and then try a chapter and then score it using like a rubric to find out if it's something that I should be keeping or not. And the goal is to remove the turds. We're gonna remove the turds from the shelves. Let's go to my room. That's where all of the unread books live. Hi, Pippin. Hi, let's go. Let's go to my room. It's very smooth. Okay, so let's look what we've got here. Are there any of these that I want to try out? Yeah. I think all of these on this are ones that I'm generally in favor of, so yeah, we're not gonna do that. Nothing here. All of those I want. All of those I want. Okay. Those are all pretty new. These are all books. Well, 5 Broken Blades. Well, should I grab that one? Yeah, let's grab it. Just, here's book number 1. We're gonna do 10 books. No, I definitely want to keep that. Definitely keeping that. Some really good things about that. So all of these in the front are like front loaded to being like ones that I really do want to read. So we're gonna move these. Is this book 2 or is this book 1? No, this is book 2. I know I have book 1. Where is it? This is gonna stand in for book 1 and then I'm gonna find book 1 after we are done here because I don't remember where it is. Those, yes. Chalkman, Stateless, Territory. I've owned this forever, so I'm gonna put this as number 3. Man, this gimbal is a game changer. Okay, I'm gonna put the, that's it. Sorry, don't ignore my laundry. There's laundry everywhere. What's back here? Jennifer Saint. The Other People. Actually, I'm gonna try this one because this one I got in a book exchange, so I'm gonna try it. So that's 4. What's on the other side of here? No. I'm gonna clean this up. Hey, look, it's me. Okay, let's go to book of the month. This one I can find a lot, so just don't mind my laundry. I couldn't do laundry for 3 weeks almost because they had to come and clean out my dryer vent, and then the dum-dums didn't rehook whatever is on the roof, so like there's just lint going into my walls or the neighbor's walls and all over the, so they were like, don't use your dryer, and then it took them forever to fix it. Okay, so all of these on top are relatively new. Okay, this is on my self-destructing books, so I think I'm going to try this one out. So there's book number 5. Let's do this one. That's book number 6 because I bought that forever and I've never tried it. What's in here? Witches, Book of Magic, Thistlefoot, Mexican Gothic. Actually, this is also on my self-destructing books, so let's do that. So how many got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And then I'm just leaving books everywhere, as you can tell. What's over here? All of these are books that I actively want to read. Are there anything down there? Nope. So let's go up. How many do I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need 3 more. What's up there? What's up there? Let's do this one. I always have such a hard time. This one. Because I don't know what this is about. Now I need 2 more. Is there anything over here? Let's go in my closet. Don't look. Except for that I'm taking the camera in. Oh. Ow, that hurts. Ow. I don't even have a dust jacket for this, so I would be happy to get rid of it. It's a Sophie Kinsella that I got for free from a friend's bookshelf. She lost the cover. So we're gonna do this one because I just grabbed it on impulse and I don't actually know if I want to read it. Is there anything here that I haven't read? This is perfect. I keep almost taking this off of my TBR so many times. How many we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's go. So I tried a little bit to organize them by color, but then there were too many books that just didn't match anything. But I'm gonna save the red ones and the blue ones for last. So I will be back after I read these 2, these 2, these 2, these 2, and those 2. And I will explain the rules after that. So here are the rules. For those of you who watched these before, you can feel free to skip. I've got chapters down below, but if you want a refresher in the rules, stick around. The way this works is that I read the first chapter of each of these books. If I don't think the first chapter is enough to decide, sometimes I'll read a second, or if there's a prologue and I don't get enough out of the prologue, I'll read the prologue and the chapter, just enough, usually around 20, 25 pages-ish, so I can get a feel for it. And then I score it. I have 5 questions I ask myself, and the answers get a 0, a 1, or a 2. And the book has to score at least a 6 for me to keep it. If it gets a 5 or under, I DNF it and unhaul it. As always, a disclaimer, if I happen to do this to one of your favorite books, I realize that these books are not, there's probably going to be some that I might DNF forever, but most of these are just going to be a DNF for now. And if I really feel like reading them in the future, if I change my mind, I can always buy them again or get them from the library. But as for right now, it's going to be something that I'm not interested in. It's going to be something that isn't to my taste, or it's going to be something that maybe the book grows on you and somebody tells me in the comments that it grows on you or whatever. But for now, it's a no from me, dog. Hi. Okay. We're back. I have unexpected results. First thing I read was I've Got Your Number by Sophie Kinsella. So this is a quote-unquote chick lit. I really hate that term. It's just fiction with women in it. So it's just fiction. I believe it does have a romance though, but I don't have the dust jacket and I should have looked it up. But my phone is on the gimbal and I didn't want to take it off. Basically, this book is about a woman. The first chapter is, what's her name? Poppy. Her name is Poppy, and she has been at a luncheon, like a tea. What did she call it? I thought, because that was part of why it was cute. A Marie Curie champagne tea. This takes place in England because Sophie Kinsella is British, I think. But at this tea, she's had lots to drink. She's lost her engagement ring, and the engagement ring is an heirloom, a family heirloom from her fiance. And her fiance's parents are coming into town very soon, and she has lost their ring because she let her friends try it on, and she got up from the table and it disappeared. It's gone. And then when she is in the middle of panicking and trying to find it, some little jackass drives by on his bike and rips her phone out of his hands. So she's losing it at the beginning of this book. And I know it has something to do with phone swapping, which is why it's called I've Got Your Number, but I cannot remember the details. But she finds a phone in a trash can at the end, and she just takes it. And I think there's going to be some stuff going on with her texting the guy who took her phone and then pretending to be, I don't know. But here's the deal. It was entertaining and I was really sucked in and I wanted to keep going. I thought for sure this was going to be a bye-bye. So let's go through the numbers. All right, so let's look at the numbers. Here's the cover, by the way, of I've Got Your Number. I'm going to just leave that up because this is boring to look at and it's dirty and the spine is broken and blah. Question number 1. Did I like the characters? Well, I didn't dislike the main character. She's the only one we really met because she was running around this empty ballroom that there was a fire alarm and the tea got emptied out and everyone got coupons or whatever. But she was still running around trying to find her ring and interrupting the cleaning staff, and the cleaning staff and the hotel staff were getting really annoyed with her. So she's really the only one, and we did not meet her at her best because she is drunk and she has lost her engagement ring. So I'm not going to judge her too hard, but I didn't really like her. I did find her interesting to read about because I was like really sucked in. I didn't expect that to happen. I've read a Sophie Kinsella before and it didn't do that to me. I read the one where she loses her memory. That book was fine. I gave it 3. I'm going to give it a 1 because I didn't dislike the character, but I also didn't develop an affection for her. Question number 2. Did it catch my interest? Yes, obviously. I just said that. I'm going to say 2. If I wanted to keep going and stop the project and just keep reading, then it's going to get a 2. Did I like the writing style? Well, yes and no. So I guess I'm going to give it a 1. There's this thing with voicey contemporary fiction that sometimes happens where they take it just a little bit too far. I like the voiciness. I like the attitude. I like the slang. I like the general tone, but sometimes it just needed to be stopped. You need to say less and then it would be better. This is her inner monologue, okay? Oh my God, I knew this would happen. Nobody should ever have entrusted me with an antique ring. Big mistake, big mistake. Now it sounds better when I say it out loud, so maybe this would work really well as an audiobook. But when I was reading it, I needed that sentence to stop after nobody should ever have entrusted me with an antique ring. Big mistake, big mistake, when I was just reading it in my head, felt really redundant and just over the top. It got me. So yes, I like the writing style. So can I give it a halfie? Can I give it a half star? I'm going to give it a 1.5. You can't stop me. For vibe check, yeah, the vibes were there. I was vibing with it. I was like, I'm here for this hot mess of a woman who has lost something very precious and is panicking because we've all been there. And it conveyed that feeling really well. The looking in the same places over and over again, just hoping for a different outcome. The panic turning, just removing your brain and you doing really dumb things that you wouldn't have done otherwise. I was there with it. So I'm going to give it a 2. And then anything worth tabbing, I'm going to say yes. So I'm going to give it a 1, but I want to read you the quote that I laughed out loud at. She's talking about how she needs to figure this out and can she figure out where her ring is? And then she goes, what would Poirot do? Poirot wouldn't flap around in panic. He'd stay calm and use his little gray cells and recall some tiny vital detail, which would be the clue to everything. I squeeze my eyes tight. Little gray cells. Come on, do your best. Which, by the way, I just noticed this is first person present tense. Isn't it? Yeah, I didn't even notice. Okay, it's a good writing style when I don't notice it's first person present tense, because I hate that. Come on, do your best. Thing is, I'm not sure Poirot had 3 glasses of pink champagne and a mojito before he solved the murder on the Orient Express. And I just laughed out loud. It's not really so much that that's funny as it was surprising, and I didn't expect her. I had a preconceived notion, I think, maybe, of this character before I went in. And now I know she's the kind of lady who, while she gets drunk at lunch with her friends, also reads Agatha Christie. So let's add those up. You guys have already got the total down there. But did I like the characters? Was a 1. Did it catch my interest? Was a 2. So we're at 3. Did I like the writing style? I gave it 1.5. Vibe check was a 2. Anything worth tabbing, that's a 7.5, right? Oh, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7.5. So that's staying. I knew it was, though, when I was reading it. I was like, oh yeah, this is staying. I will unhaul it after I read it, though, because this copy is not good. So if I really like it, I'll get it in another format. But chances are I'm just going to unhaul it and have a good time, and that'll be it. All right, book number 2. This is one I thought I might like because everybody loves Andrea Stewart, or at least I thought everybody loved Andrea Stewart. But I had a different reaction to this one than I expected as well. So this is so helpful because I didn't know I was going to have this reaction, and if I would have tried to read this, it would have been a real bummer. So as you can tell, I probably think I'm going to unhaul this, but let's see how the numbers work out. So number 1, did I like the characters? They were fine, so I'm going to give it a 1. The main plot here for The Gods Below, which I didn't know this was climate fiction, which I guess technically it isn't climate fiction once you get into it, but the first chapter is climate fiction. So this takes place in a world where it's a magical world, but where humanity has, or the mortals as they call them, have still ruined the planet. And I don't know if they're on Earth or somewhere else, but they had these magical trees that covered the world that provided the ecosystem and the magic and everything, and people just tore them down. And now they live in like a hellscape. And apparently, and this is a really cool premise, by the way, so I'm kind of upset about this. Apparently, there's gods and they live below, which is why it's called Below. They live in the center of the earth. And somebody, because the chapters are prefaced by like books from, like excerpts from a holy book or like some sort of legend book or something like that to let you know the lore. It opens with us learning that there was a person who petitioned the gods to remake the world and to fix it after what the mortals did to it. All of them denied him except for one. And apparently they're in the middle of the God Pact as this story opens. And country by country, this god is going around and remaking. They call it something else though. They call it restoration. And the main character, whose name is Hakara, which there's actually 5 characters. There's 5 POV characters because I read the author's letter at the beginning. We only get 1 at the beginning, and I skimmed a little bit of chapters 2 and 3, which is chapter 2 is that character again, and then chapter 3 is her sister. So I only got 1 character. So it opens with this character diving in the ocean really, really deep, and for some reason she can hold her breath for a very long time, finding abalone shells to sell for food. They live in a tent on the shore in a community of other people living in tents, because the ocean is like the only place left where there's resources, because there's like no food. Everything's a wasteland. I hate that. I mean, I get why people write about it and why people are interested in it, but I personally really dislike reading about that kind of stuff. But then she comes back from her little swim, and it's to find out that everyone has left because the wall, or there's this like black wall of magic approaching, and that means the restoration is coming for this country. I did read ahead a chapter. I mean, like I skimmed ahead to see, because the first chapter gave me almost nothing, but I didn't want to commit to reading 2 more chapters, which is what I needed. But so I just skim read, and it turns out what's going on is that the restoration has come for the country, and this character Hakara she refuses. She's like, I didn't consent to this, because the bargain is that this god will remake the earth and make it green and full of life again in exchange for gems. And also there's a 50-50 chance that when you're in the country that's restored, you will either be transformed and become like a new type of person built for that new environment, or your body will be essentially brought back to the earth, and your body and you will be dead, but your molecules will be used to restore the environment. So she's understandably upset about this. I really liked the idea that something so on the surface as like fixing climate change and fixing the mistakes that humans made is getting done, but it's not necessarily a good thing because of the price. So that was really interesting, and that's why it's such a bummer that I think what's about to happen is going to happen, but we'll see. I only gave it a 1. Did it catch my interest? I guess I'll give it a 1 just because the premise caught my interest and the ideas caught my interest. In terms of other stuff, which we'll talk about in a second, it did not. So a 1. Did I like the writing style? No, I didn't like it. I mean, functionally it was fine, but it felt written. It felt like that I'm trying to write really hard and give you images, and it's that tone I just do not like, where it doesn't feel effortless. It feels written. It feels like the author's trying to impress with her big words rather than create a world and characters. The point was more the words than it was the creation. Does that make sense? I don't know. I didn't hate the writing style, but I didn't like it either. So I'm just gonna give it a 0, because in personal style wise, if I'm being honest, I didn't like it. Vibe check. it had some vibes, and most of them were from the premise and from the events, the plot that were happening. Vibes are in large part for me based on the writing style and the atmosphere, which is part of the writing style. And so it's like a circle. I'm going to give it a 1 just because, well, no, you know what? I'm going to give it a 0. The vibes weren't there because how I define, oh, sorry. I just dropped the book on Lily because she's like pushing up against me. Vibes for me are about the atmosphere and the writing style and the created, and all that stuff is created by the writing style. So I guess my questions are kind of redundant, but they mean different things to me. So shh. I'm going to give it a 0. So I'm still at 2. This is not happening. Anything worth tabbing? No. So this is a 2 and I'm getting rid of this. Honestly, it's fine. This is exactly the kind of book that I'm trying to weed out by doing this. Look how pretty this is. I might try on audio. Sometimes audiobooks elevate a writing style that I'm not digging. And again, like I said, there was nothing really technically wrong with the writing. It just isn't my thing. But a good narrator could fix that, or at least somewhat fix that. So I might, depending on what the reviews are like for book 2 when it comes out eventually, I might come back to this. But I don't need to own this. It's 5 o'clock. All right, we've got 8 left. I'll be back. I'm back. I have read 2 more books. This one is a book I've had on my TBR since it was published, and it was published in 2008. So this is one of the very first books I added to my Goodreads TBR, and I happened to get this again from that same friend who I got with the number book, whatever, the Sophie Kinsella. It's almost gone so many times, but we'll see. Okay, let's go. Did I like the characters of The Good Thief by Hannah Tinti? They were fine. I didn't know much about them, so I'm going to give it a 1. Did it catch my interest? Yes, but like not fully. So I'm going to give it another 1. So we're at 2. This book is about, or at least it starts being about, I'm unclear like where this is or when. Main character is a kid named Ren. He's 12. He was put into an orphanage, which is actually a monastery / vineyard or something. They're monks that make alcohol, whatever. And they somehow ended up being an orphanage also for boys. He lives there and he's missing a hand. He's been missing a hand since he was a baby. He was dropped off handless. And nobody wants to adopt him because he's missing a hand and he can't work. The first chapter, at least, it just basically features introducing the orphanage and what it's like when somebody comes to adopt a kid. Guy shows up and he like wants to pick Ren, and then one of the monks says, "No, you don't want that one." And then he like whips him until he shows him that he doesn't have a hand, and the guy like throws him a look of disgust and moves on. So that's where it ends, which was interesting. And I flipped forward a little bit to see, and I also read the back cover. And apparently the main plot of this is that he does finally get adopted by some guy who claims to be his long lost brother and know what happened to him and his hand and his past and everything. But he's also a con man, so Ren is like half thinking he's lying, half wanting him to not be lying. But also, like, I could have put it down at any point. Did I like the writing style? Yes, it was good. It was good. I'll give it a 2. Vibe check. I kind of drifted off at half of it, and then half of it I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So I'm going to say 5. I liked the weirdness of the monks who were like making alcohol suddenly becoming an orphanage just because villagers, like, it was very dark but also funny that the villagers just kept leaving babies like on their doorstep or like in a bucket or in a shed or like on top of the donkey or whatever. And that was like darkly funny. And I think the book is going to be full of that kind of thing, which I liked. Anything worth tabbing? Yes. Okay, so it's the part I was just telling you about. It tickled me. I would have tabbed it. So they started making alcohol making wine. And soon after this, the first child was left. Brother Joseph heard cries one morning before sunrise and opened the door to find a baby wrapped in a soiled dress. The second child was left in a bucket near the well. The third in a basket by the outhouse. I just thought that was funny, but I'm only gonna give it a 1. So this is a 6. So it is snuck by the skin of its teeth. I'm getting 3.5-star vibes from this right now, but it could change as you get further into it. But for now, this is staying. I don't know about my decision to put 2 self-destructing books in here. I should have maybe left them alone, but there's a reason they're on my self-destructing books is because I was not sure about them, and this is the same reason I picked them for this. So Okay, so this is The Future by Naomi Alderman. I don't know why I decided to buy this. I stay away from post-apocalyptic, dystopian, climate disaster, all that stuff. Like, I don't need that fear in my life. I've got it up here enough. I don't want to read about it. Somebody told me, or like I read, that this is like hopeful. So I was like, I liked the power. I want to try this. And that was so dumb of me. I actually read the first 2 chapters of this one because I wanted to get more of a feel for it. But apparently I didn't even meet the main characters yet. But what this is about, as far as I can tell, and I'm curious about it, but like I also don't want to read it. It's so frustrating. Actually, I'm not sure what it's about. But the first 2 chapters, intriguingly open, we follow 2 billionaires. So billionaire number 1, first chapter, is, and they were both very short. Chapter 2 ends on page 12. Okay, so that's why I read 2 chapters. Billionaire number 1 is meditating because he's got anger issues and he's in the middle of like an important conference / hearing / something, and his anger issues could really mess things up for his company. So he's meditating and he's being a dick, and he's like, all he can think about is the woman leading the meditation, how her nose is whistling, and he's just, and then it ends with him getting a notification that the world is ending. And then the chapter ends. And I'm like, well, now I gotta know what it said. I gotta know what's happening. Even though I really don't like this. I don't like this feeling I'm getting. It was very unpleasant. Chapter 2, billionaire number 2, was having sex with his wife, who he's about to divorce, but she was really into it, and she is hot. And she doesn't know, or he thinks she doesn't know, that he's about to divorce her. But they went to the same climate conference, and that gets her all hot and bothered. So they're like having sex. And then he's like so happy about how hot the sex was that he turns off all his notifications, and he doesn't know until midday the next day that the world is ending. And again, we do not find out what happened. Okay. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to spoil myself for what happens. And that will ultimately determine whether or not I read this. But whether or not I keep this right now in my house is going to determine all these numbers. Number 1, did I like the characters? Absolutely freaking not. They were vile. They were terrible billionaires, gross, misogynist, bleh. Didn't like them. But I don't think we were supposed to. So I guess I'll give it a 1 because I feel like the feelings I was getting, I was supposed to be getting. Did it catch my interest? Yes, but like I didn't want it to, but I want to know what that notification was that they got on their phones, because it doesn't say. It just says, the skin of his face tightened. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the notification. It was no minor escape. It was the end of days. And then it just stops. So I want to know. I want to know what's going on. Even though I don't want to know, because it's like my worst nightmare. But it's so I'll give it, so we were at 2. Did I like the writing style? Yes, she's a good writer. So 2. So we're at 4. She's a good writer. Vibe check. I hated the vibes. I hated them. That's why I don't like this kind of book. But I am going to give it a 1 because the vibes are there even if I don't like them. Anything worth tabbing? I mean, I read you that one quote, but I wouldn't tab that. I mean, it's quotable, but I wouldn't tab that. You know what? I don't want to read this. So I don't want to. We're done. This is a 5. We're gonna let it go. I'm gonna spoil myself, and that's it. And then I feel very satisfied with that decision right now. I feel very relieved that I don't have to put myself through this, but I can still know what happened. I'll be back. 2 more. These 2. First up, Serpent and Dove by Shelby. I don't know how to say her last name. Mahurin. I met her, and she was at Tucson Festival Books last year, and I don't remember. Is this freaking thing upside down? Is it upside down? It's fine. Flip it in post. This is a book about a witch hunter, and yeah, I gotta turn it around. Hold on. Okay, that's better. It's the right way now. This is about a witch and a witch hunter who have to get married. Although you wouldn't know that from the first chapter, which is fine. But basically all I know from the first chapter, this takes place in either France or a French-like country where the witchcraft is like acknowledged and also feared. And apparently in this town, this guy, he did something to witches, or he stole from witches, or I don't know. My brain glossed over that part of it. He's got some sort of a magic ring. I don't know, but his daughter was kidnapped and sucked dry of life, like like the Sanderson did to Binks's little sister in Hocus Pocus. Basically, they did that to his daughter. But the main character and her friend Coco, whose name is Cosette, but it goes by Coco, have dressed as men, entered a brothel, and bribed one of the courtesans to allow them to spy on a meeting between this man and the madam, who threatens him, but manages to confirm that he has this magic ring that the main character is looking for. Anyway, that's basically all that's in the first chapter. I don't have any idea what that has to do with the witch hunter and this main character getting married. It's a pretty big book, and it's young adult, and it kind of read like it, but it also, it had to, well, we'll get to that in a second. So let's look at the numbers, because I'm not sure about this one. I'm not sure how it's going to go. Did I like the characters? Again, I did not like them, so that gets a 1 usually. Sometimes you know you're going to like a character immediately, and sometimes you just have to wait a little bit, and this is one of those cases where I don't know if I'm going to like her or not. But I wasn't put off by anything. Nothing made me fall in love with her, or whatever you do with a character you really like. Did it catch my interest? At first it didn't, and then by the end it did. I found myself being like, okay, well, I want to see what happens. Does she heist this guy's house? Does she break in and steal this magic ring? And what is the magic ring? And I was like, okay, well, if I'm asking myself those questions, I'm interested, obviously. So I'm gonna give it a 1. Did I like the writing style? It was pretty good. It wasn't my favorite, but it was pretty good. And for a YA book, and especially since I was going into this with like really low expectations about the writing style, I'm gonna give it a 1.5. 1 isn't match my feelings, and neither does 2. Vibe check. I always love a good story set in a brothel. I love witches. I like reading about old-timey France because it was a weird place. The vibes weren't perfect. Again, like I feel like 1 chapter in this case wasn't enough, but I didn't want to spend any more time with it because the chapters were longer. I'm gonna give it another 1.5. So that brings us to 3, 4, 5. So I'm at 5. Anything worth tabbing? No. You know what? That's fine. That's what this is for. This is leaving. I won't say no to it. I'm not going to take it off because I removed it from my TBR like in September of last year or October. And then we had our holiday party in one of my book clubs. I'm in multiple. Actually, it was a joint holiday party with both of our book clubs, which are slowly merging into one giant book club. But for now, we still hold separate meetings. I got this in our holiday white elephant book exchange. And I was like, guys, I literally just took this off my TBR, like when I was doing a cleanup. So I put it back on. So I'm not going to take it off again, but I think I am obviously going to unhaul this because that's what the numbers say. This is a 5. Okay, and then this one was a surprise because I thought I was going to be getting rid of this one for sure because I've just had zero interest in picking it up ever since I bought it. Like, I don't even know why I bought it because I never even once thought about picking it up, even when I've been doing my holiday reading vlogs every year. And that's The Kingdom of Sweets by Erika Johansen. So I haven't read anything by this author before. I just have had no desire to pick this up. And I think I kind of forgot how much I like the Nutcracker story and how weird and dark it is. Especially Herr Drosselmeyer. He's always been so creepy. Like, I feel like it's been a really long time since I've seen anything to do with that story, and it's just like receded into the back of my mind. And it's just like primal fairy tale at this point that I just have this reaction to. But this was also pretty well done, I think, so I'm pretty sure it's staying, but let's look at the numbers. Did I like the characters? Yes. So the plot here is that there's twin girls born to this perfectly ordinary family. I'm not sure where. I think they're in Germany. It must be either Germany or Austria, 1800s-ish, Germany-ish. There's these twin girls, and the doctor has said they're identical to the parents. In a sort of like Sleeping Beauty-esque twist, Herr Drosselmeyer shows up at the baptism. He's just like this guy in the neighborhood. They didn't invite him. And then, of course, because he showed up to the ceremony, the baptism ceremony, they invite him back to the small reception at their house. And what does he do but go into the room with the babies in their little cribs? And he looks at one and looks at the other, and he points to them and he goes, light, dark. And everyone loses their shit. And then we see what happened to the girls as they grow up, like the consequences of that. And one of them becomes beautiful, angelic, popular, lucky. And the other one is small and dumpy with straight black hair and a very thirsty mind for knowledge, but she can also like see into people's hearts. And the other one is very naive and taken advantage of a lot. So there's pros and cons. But what's interesting about this is the character herself muses at the end of the chapter, because the point of view character is Natasha, the other twin, the dark twin. And she's like, I wonder if this wasn't a curse at all, if he was doing us a favor. But I think it's even more interesting to think about, like, what if he didn't do anything at all? What if he just saw who they were going to be? Not Natasha was always going to be this way, and Claire was always. So I'm very interested to keep going. But anyway, I like the characters. Eric Drosselmeyer is creepy as shit, and I really liked Natasha as the narrator. I find her very intriguing. So 2. Did it catch my interest? We've covered this. Yes. 4. I'm very interested. Did I like the writing style? Yes. It was very engaging. Pretty much nothing else to say. Vibe check, super good vibes. I loved them. They were exactly right. I didn't even know I wanted this. Anything worth tabbing? No. 8. So we're at an 8. Back in a bit, 2 more. I'm terrible at guessing things. Again, I have predicted wrongly. So first I read Territory by Emma Bull, first chapter. Did I know this was a Western? I don't think that I did. No. Maybe I knew when I put it on my TBR forever ago. This is a book set in 1881 in Tombstone, Arizona. It's got Doc Holliday in it, Wyatt Earp, but this is a world where magic is real, and our main character rides into town, and the characters there convince him that he can do magic, I guess. That's what the back says. But the first chapter was just this guy wandering into town on a horse, and he falls off the horse and he's been shot. And Doc Holliday's in the bar, which, by the way, he has tuberculosis, which I think I knew. Feels like a bit of a coincidence, because everything's tuberculosis. I mean, and he's actively sick in this. And this guy comes into town, and it's kind of a neat reversal, because this guy on the horse is shot, and they pull him into the bar, they put him on the table. They're like, what do we do? And they send for the doctor, but then this guy comes into town, and he's like, I shot him. So your instinct is to be like, that's the bad guy, and the guy on the table is our guy. But it's the reverse. So that was interesting. In terms of the questions, did I like the characters? I liked Doc Holliday, who was the main person. I don't like our main character, Jesse, yet. So I'm going to give it a 1, because it just there wasn't enough time yet for me to know. The character who got the most exposure in the chapter, I did like. So, and I've read from Emma Bull before. Did it catch my interest? Yes and no. I'm going to give it a 1, because the yes is that the back and the premise, which we didn't get to any of that, caught my interest, and I did like that reversal. But if I was just going off of the first chapter, I didn't know what it was about on the back, I don't necessarily know if my interest would be that caught, because there's no indication of any sort of magic in here. I'll tell you what it did though, is make me want to watch Tombstone, which I've never seen Tombstone the movie. What I have seen is that episode of Supernatural where the boys go to Tombstone, and Dean is happier than a pig in shit.
Look, just act like you're from Tombstone, okay?
The city?
The movie. With Kurt Russell, I made you watch it.
Yeah. The one with the guns and tuberculosis. I'm your Huckleberry.
Because he loves Tombstone, and Cass is his Huckleberry. Anyway, I don't know what that means. The acknowledgements come first in this book, and then she opens it with her Huckleberry. So I know it's a thing. I don't know what it means, but anyway, it caught my interest, but not as much as it could have. Did I like the writing style? Yes. I like Emma Bull's writing style. She always writes well. I felt like the setting, I felt the characters. I was not thinking about the writing. I was thinking about what was happening, and it was just happening in my head without really much effort. So that's a 2. So we're at 4. Vibe check, I'm gonna give that a 2. Very Old West, very nostalgic feeling. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're at 6. So it's gonna stay. But last thing, anything worth tabbing? No. We're staying at a 6, which feels about right. Keeping this, predicted that I would get rid of it. What do I know? And then the second one that I read was Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. I thought I would get rid of this one just because, similar to Kingdom of Sweets, I bought it from Book of the Month and just never picked it up and never even had a single urge to pick it up. Did I like the characters? Yes. The first chapter is about this woman named Flor, who has the ability to tell when people are going to die. She has dreams where her teeth fall out, and in the wreckage of her teeth is the answer of who's going to die. And she's done this since she was a kid. The book opens with her planning her own funeral and inviting her family. And that way it reminded me a lot of Orchidia Divina. I don't remember the full title, but it had a very different tone. That book was very like mystical, magical woo feeling. This felt more, it felt like the opposite of that, where in this one, everything feels very normal and then the magic is just in there feeling normal. It's hard to explain. I liked Fleur. I know who she is exactly just after reading one chapter from her perspective. So that's a 2. Did it catch my interest? Yes. I wanted to keep going into the next chapter. I just like this premise. I don't know why this book soured so much in my head. Maybe because I didn't see good reviews. I don't know. I love this chair. It reminds me of actually this John Wayne movie that I used to watch all the time when I was a kid, where he falls in love with a Hawaiian princess and she sits in one of these chairs. I'll see if I can put a clip in. I'm monetized now, which we'll talk about that in a sec at the end of the video. What's the policy on clips? Like less than 10 seconds? Okay. Did I like the writing style? Yes, a lot. I already knew I liked her writing style. It was just so immediately engaging. So that's a 2. Vibe check 2. So we're at 8. Anything worth tabbing? I forgot to pay attention. No tabs. But that's fine. We're in at 8. So I got to read this apparently because I was into it while I was reading that first chapter. That's why we do this. Last 2, be right back. 5 Broken Blades. Let's just get into it. No preface. Did I like the characters? Not really. Okay, so here's the deal. This one, the chapters are super short. I read the first 3 chapters and I only got to page 12. So I wanted to get at least 3 of them in because there are at least 3 narrators. I don't know if there are 5 to go with the 5 characters who are assassins, but I wanted to get a sense of all 3 narrators, specifically because this has first person present tense, and I noticed. Oh yes, I did. It's just a mistake, okay? It's a mistake for a debut author unless they are preternaturally talented to do first person present tense. Especially if you're going to have multiple narrators. First person, part of the reason I never made it past the first 2 pages the first couple times I tried to read this is because the first person present tense washes out the character. My brain wouldn't grab onto it. Actually, the first chapter was my favorite. It had the most voice that slipped through the first person present. Actually, it reminded me, I feel like May Corland might be a Joe Abercrombie fan because it really reminded me a lot of The First Law. Not that this is grimdark, it's not. But what she was doing with that character and his voice, his name is Royo. They're all assassins. Really reminded me of First Law. And I could tell there was an attempt made here to distinguish between the POVs, but mostly only to do with vocabulary. Like the first guy's vocabulary is pretty low, the second person's is mid, and then the third person's is really elevated and pretentious, but somehow they all still sounded like the same person, except for maybe the first guy. I feel like if I'm going to read this and not rip my hair out, I'm going to have to do it on audio. Becca from Becca in the Books read this last year and really liked it. But she did the audio, which is full cast. Each character has their own narrator, and I think that would do it for me. Because this story does sound really interesting to me, and like the ideas it's playing with and the characters' circumstances, and the fact that all these people are down on their luck, and they have tragic backstories, and they're all going to kill this king. Really into that. I do want to do the audio, no matter when I do this. But did I like the characters? No. I'll give it a 0.5, because I liked the first character-ish. But it really wasn't very much time at all. It's 12 pages and we're hopping from POV to POV. Like, I don't think that's a very good decision on this author's behalf to do that right at the beginning. I feel like we should have stayed in the first guy's point of view for a long time and gotten rooted. Did it catch my interest? A little. So I guess I'll give it a 1. I managed to make it past page 2 for the first time. So certain parts of it were more interesting than others. But yeah, I'll give it a 1. So we're at 1.5. Did I like the writing style? Not really. I mean, it wasn't the worst first person present POV I've ever read, but the first person present POV I feel like really cramped this author's style. I feel like she could have done so much better if that wasn't getting in her way. Vibe check. I'll give it a 1. So wait, we've got 1, 2, 2.5. Okay, anything worth tabbing? No, this book is going. But here's the thing, I do want to read this. I'm not going to read it hard copy, and I'm certainly not going to buy any more of the hard copy books. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the audio and I'm going to listen to it, satisfy my curiosity, and then decide if I want to continue. Because I am curious about how things are going to play out. Maybe I'll grow to like these characters and I'll continue. I don't know. Maybe the narrators will be fantastic. But this is going. And the last book. We have a book that is, maybe since I cleared out some of the books last year that were the oldest books on my TBR, this might be the oldest book on my physical TBR now. I'd have to check. But this is definitely up there because it was published in 2007 and I've owned it since 2007, maybe 2008. I got it at a used bookstore. And that's Interred with Their Bones by Jennifer Lee Carrell. So this is the book that I was talking about. The Shakespeare Secret is the sequel. And actually, this is the American version, Interred with Their Bones. The Shakespeare Code is the British title. And that is very accurate because this is the Da Vinci Code, but make it Shakespeare. If you're in the mood for something like that, this will do it for you. And I got to say, it did it for me. I mean, there's a reason I've owned this book. It's never been a priority, so I've never read it. I am still interested in it. So let's go through and see how high the score is, though, because I'm pretty sure I'm keeping this. I mean, the score could lie, and then I'll have to give it away, and then I'll be sad. If my scoring system works, I won't be giving it away. Did I like the characters? They were fine. I'll give it a 1. We really only met 2 people. The first person is Kate Stanley, who is a scholar, and she is currently directing Hamlet at the Globe, which is outrageous, first of all, because she's American. Second of all, she's under 30. Third of all, it's the Globe. Hopefully there's a reason behind how that happened. That's what's happening in her life when an old professor of hers named Roz, who was her Shakespeare professor, or maybe her advisor, I'm not sure of their relationship to each other yet, interrupts her rehearsal and says, I have the secret, and then acts all mysterious and is like, meet me at this place at 9 o'clock. And of course she meets her at the place. Oh, I didn't tell you there's a prologue that was like 2 pages. It takes place in 1613. And if you didn't know, the Globe Theater burned down in 1613. And it was during the reign of King James, I believe. Queen Elizabeth was already dead. It's from the point of view of 2 characters who were responsible for it burning. And they never found out who burned it in real life. We don't know who burned it, but these characters burned it for vengeance against Shakespeare. Flash forward to the end of chapter 1, when she's on this hill waiting for her mentor, and the Globe is burning again. And that's it. She's got a mysterious box. And there's going to be codes. There's going to be adventures through the streets of London. There's going to be completely implausible secrets about William Shakespeare revealed. Probably a lost play or 2, you know. And I'm going to eat it up. I didn't really like the characters, but the setup in this one. But I didn't not like the characters, so 1. Did it catch my interest? Yes, I already told you that, so we're at 3. Did I like the writing style? It did the job. It's very workmanlike. It's like I'm a thriller talking about stuff that sounds really important, but it's still a thriller like the Da Vinci Code. So I'll give it a 1. Yeah, we're going to give it a 2. So even though I didn't like the writing style necessarily, is very workmanlike, it was still like, I'm so into this. The Globe, England, implausible profession for an American scholar, secrets, codes. I'm a basic bitch. I'm gonna eat that up. Wait, so how many are we at? We're at 6, so it's keeping. Anything worth tabbing? No. This passed by the skin of its teeth, largely because of my enthusiasm. That's part of the reason I have Vibe Check on here, because it encompasses a whole manner of things that even if I don't technically like the writing style, even if I don't technically like the characters, or even if it doesn't interest me as much and the other stuff balances out, if those vibes are there, that's pretty big. And the vibes are here. I'm going to gather these up, make it into piles, and we're going to wrap up this video. Let's wrap up. To summarize the events here, I got to some books that I have not touched in years. Let's do the negatives first. So there were 4 books that I am unhauling that didn't make the cut. The first was Andrea Stewart, The Gods Below. This one got a 2 out of 10. Goodbye, Andrea Stewart. Goodbye, farewell. On Pangle you shall go. Next up is The Future by Naomi Alderman. I am not brave enough to read this. I just want to know what happens, and that's it. So we're getting rid of this. It was a 5. Serpent and Dove, it's a 5. I'm not saying no though to this one in the future. It's just, I don't need to own it and actively try and read it. I'm just not that interested, apparently. And lastly, getting rid of 5 Broken Blades, which was a 3.5. These are all the books I am getting rid of now. Congratulations to me. 4 books I'd never have to worry about again if I don't want to. Now for the books I'm keeping, much to my surprise, many of these, because I genuinely tried to pick books that I thought I might get rid of. First up is Sophie Kinsella, I've Got Your Number. Inexplicably really drawn to this and had a great time with it, and I want to keep reading it. This one got a 7.5. Next up was Hannah Tinti, The Good Thief, a book that I'm pretty positive I will forget everything about, but it scraped through and it got a 6. So I'm still interested in it. We'll see what happens in the future. This one I'm super into, and I'm definitely going to read it at Christmas this year. Or maybe if I do like a Christmas in July kind of thing, or maybe I'll read it for Summerween because I think it's kind of dark. That's Kingdom of Sweets. This book got an 8. I got 2 8s, no 10s or 9s this time. I guess I did pick books that I wasn't that super interested in. But yeah, I was really surprised by how into this first chapter I was. Kingdom of Sweets by Erika Johansen. Then I was also super surprised because I had so much menace in my soul regarding this book by Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. This was the other 8? Yeah, this was the other 8. I was just really into the writing voice and the characters and like just the whole thing. I was into it. And then second to last, we've got Territory by Emma Bull. This was a 6, but it was enough for me to keep going. And I'm going to watch Tombstone. I'm going to watch Tombstone tonight. As I fall asleep. It's gonna happen. And last but not least, a book I've been meaning to get to for almost 20 years. Interred with Their Bones by Jennifer Lee Carroll. I believe she lives in Tucson, actually. This got a 6. So these are all the books I am keeping. Ta-da! Happy days. Oops. I wonder how stable it just kept it, because I just hit the table and its gimbal is supposed to stabilize it. So if that was shaking, then it's not doing its job. But if it wasn't shaking, good job, gimbal. If you didn't notice, I finally hit 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much to everyone who subscribed. I really appreciate it. I am now monetized. I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen from here. I don't know how any of this works. I don't know how to manage the ads. I don't know how to do anything. So I'm going to learn as I go. But what I wanted to do as a thank you for everyone who follows me, because I really feel like, I watch a lot of new booktubers just because I'm curious how fast people get to 1,000. And I feel like the fact that it took me almost 2 years to get to 1,000. And I know people do it faster. But here's the thing is that I don't want just a bunch of fly-by-night followers. I don't want that. Those people will go and they will come. But I would like a solid base of subscribers. I love that you guys comment on my videos and then I'm like getting to know you. And also, I'll never forget this. I've been watching Vlogbrothers, Hank and John Green, for over a decade now. And I'll never forget on one of their videos when they were talking about like their subscriber base and their analytics, where they were talking about how couple of the worst years of their channel was the years where they had the most followers, where people came in because The Fault in Our Stars was really popular. So like 2011 through like 2013. And those people came in fast and left fast. And they caused a lot of drama while they were here. And I'll never forget they said that one of the perks of growing something slowly and over time is that it's more solid. So like even after all of the popular people follow, they're left with like a core of a really strong base of people who are actually interested in their content and who are respectful of the community and who are kind to each other and just genuinely interested in their stuff. And that's what I want you guys to feel from me. I want you to actually be interested in what I do. And I'm never going to be one of those YouTubers that does things to get clicks. I'm not built for it. Whenever I've tried to do something popular, it's like fitting a square peg into a round hole. It's just not something for me. So I'm going to do what I think is fun and interesting. And if you guys like it, you like it. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. However, as a thank you for the follows, subscribers, we're gonna do a subscriber request video. I don't have any idea. It's what you guys want me to do. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in my community tab, so you can click over there. I'll link it down below, but it'll be on my community tab. Is just a thread for you to post ideas of what you would want me to do. Like, it could be a reading project. It could be a book you want me to read and do a full spoiler vlog for. It could be something involving the cats. I don't know. Get creative with it, whatever you want. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 4 of my favorites that I'm actually, like, that I think I could make something interesting and that I would have fun with. And I will put up a poll for you guys to vote on and pick which one I'm going to do for my 1,000 subscriber celebration thank you video. I think this is going to be a really long video, actually, so I'm sorry, or you're welcome, whichever way you go. If you've made it this far in the video, though, thank you so much for watching, and again, thank you for subscribing. If you are watching this video and you have not yet subscribed and you liked what you saw, please don't forget, there's a subscribe button right there. Subscribe. It should be lighting up with little and give me a like, because that really helps me, the algorithm, know that people might be interested in my stuff and pushes it out to new nerds who might want to watch some shit. Anyway, you know the drill. Like and subscribe if you want to. No pressure. I'm at 1,000 now, so frankly, I'm content. So we can just have fun now. If you made it to this video and you don't have anything to say about any of the books I just read, please leave me. They don't have a Globe Theater emoji. That's upsetting. A horse for territory. Put a horsey in the comments. Anyway, bye. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, love you. Bye.